welcome to Coffee with Kuehner. I am Dr. Kuehner, as Vince has been calling me throughout these broadcasts. So today what I'm going to be doing is sharing my story. Vince shared his in the last episode, and so I like to share mine with you in this episode. This past April, I celebrated my 46th rebirthday. Yeah, rebirthday, that's right. It's been a little over 46 years since I was born again, since I accepted Jesus as Savior and Lord. And I'll tell you what, it's made a tremendous difference in my life. So what I'm going to do is briefly share with you how this whole thing came about. I was born in Palmerton, Pennsylvania, and I grew up without a father. My mom got pregnant, and my father moved out of the state. So I've never seen my father. I've never met him. I've never talked to him, and so that's kind of what that's all about. My mom and I lived with my grandparents. I did have uncles who spent time with me, and I spent a lot of time in my early years playing sports, and my focus was on baseball and basketball. My mom got married when I was almost 9 years old. I did continue to live with my grandparents for some time. I don't really recall exactly how long of a time that was, but eventually I did move in with my mom and my stepdad. Church really wasn't a big part of my upbringing, but my mom did make sure that I got confirmed. She was a member of a UCC church in Palmerton, and that's where I got confirmed, and that was pretty much my church experience. I did continue to pour my life into sports, and it paid off. As a sophomore in high school, I was a starting guard on the basketball team, and I was a starting pitcher on the varsity baseball team. I was a left-handed pitcher. And during the summer of 1966, which was after my sophomore year in high school, I played Legion baseball, and I did really well. So well, in fact, that 8 different major league teams sent scouts to watch me pitch. So I was a rising star, and things were going pretty well in that respect. But I always knew that something was missing in my life. So during my junior year in high school, this whole absentee father thing kind of came to a head, and I really began to rebel. I started smoking and drinking, and actually began to lose interest in sports. I played basketball and baseball that year, and I did okay, but not as good as the year before. And then during the summer of 1967, my drinking really got bad. During my senior year in high school, I didn't even go out for the basketball team. I had no interest in that anymore. I did play baseball, but my performance that year was nowhere near the level that it once was. The summer of 1968, the year that I graduated from high school, I started doing drugs, mostly marijuana. And by the end of that summer, I was an alcohol and drug abuser, getting high and or drunk most days. So needless to say, the next couple of years were pretty crazy, and honestly, a bit fuzzy, and I was essentially a functional alcohol and drug abuser. I did work part-time, mostly construction, and I did go to college as well. First, Lehigh County Community College, and then Kutztown University. But I basically did enough to get by. Didn't really apply myself the way I could have or should have. I just kind of was there and getting by. Early in 1974, or excuse me, during the summer of 1971, I met Carol, and we started dating. And then in August of 1973, that's when we got married. I settled down somewhat, did drugs occasionally, not too often, but I did drink more than I should have, and there were times when I did drink too much and got drunk. So fast forward a little bit here, early in 1974, Carol met a girl where she worked. This girl was named Paula, and Paula had been a heroin addict and really kind of lost her family, really messed up her life. But in spite of these issues that she had and the problems that she had faced, she, at this point when Carol met her, was really filled with peace and joy. And in time, Carol learned that Jesus was responsible for the change that had taken place in Paula's life. And to make a long story short, a short time later, Carol accepted Jesus as Savior and Lord of her life. And I was happy for her. I really was. It seemed like she was happy, so I was happy. And I did encourage her to move forward with her newfound faith, but it really wasn't for me at this point. I didn't really see where it was going to help me, or I needed Jesus, but I did go to church with her. We went to Faith Evangelical Free Church in Trexlertown, Pennsylvania. And over the next couple of months, different people, including Carol, they kept talking to me about Jesus, and I really started to think seriously about the Christian faith. And eventually, Pastor Thompson, who was the pastor at that church, came to see me at my house, and on April 1st, 1974, I asked Jesus Christ to forgive my sin and come into my life and be my Savior and Lord. Now, one of the things I remember distinctly, the pastor told me that accepting Christ was just the first step in really what was a lifelong journey, and I needed to grow in the faith. In other words, I needed to learn more about Jesus and become more like him. And I figured that the best place to help me to do that was Faith Evangelical Free Church, because after all, that's the church that helped me to find Jesus in the first place. So Carol and I really, went all in, man. We went to the Sunday school class. We got involved in a Sunday school class. We attended the Sunday morning and Sunday evening worship services. We went to a Wednesday night Bible study at the church, and we also got involved in a small home group that met on Friday nights. Now, in addition to all this, I was reading the Bible on my own, as well as different Christian books that the pastor would recommend that I read. And as you might expect, those months, because of the fact we were so involved and engaged in this learning experience, those months were months of major growth, for Carol and I. And as I studied the Bible, with a compliant heart. And that's really the key. I wanted to know more about Jesus and become more like him. So as I studied the Bible with a compliant heart, God transformed my life. He changed my life for the good. Well, in June of 1975, Carol and I moved back to Palmerton, our hometown, and we started to attend an EC church there. And in time, we joined the church, and I began to lead a Sunday school class and also a Wednesday night Bible study. And it was during the summer of 1977, that I sensed a call from God to enter the pastoral ministry. And then I pursued that call. And in July of 1978, I was assigned to my first church, an evangelical congregational church in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. I started seminary at Evangelical School of Theology in September of 1978, and as they say, the rest is history. Now, I need to tell you about something that happened in September or October of 1978. It really has confirmed my call to be a pastor. And what happened, there was a pastor's meeting in Myerstown, our denominational headquarters. That's where, and Pastor Woodward, who was the pastor at the Palmerton church, it was on his way, so he just kind of picked me up, and we're going down on Route 78, and I knew that Pastor Woodward had a major heart attack like years earlier, and he was like out for three minutes or something. I'm not sure how long it was, but he used to tell me about this and how he always used to say how God brought him back from the dead from this heart attack, and he never could understand why, and he would question God. Why did you bring me back? It was really cool to be with you in heaven, and he talked about that experience he had, and he looked at me and he said, "You know what? I know why God brought me back from that heart attack now." And I said, "Well, why?" And he said, "To get you into the pastoral ministry." And what made that so significant in my life is that a few weeks later, Pastor Woodward died. He had another massive heart attack and went to be with the Lord in heaven. So that was awesome. So let's kind of talk a little bit about what happened after that. Since 1978, I have served as a lead pastor in evangelical congregational churches in Hamburg, Frackville, and Lenhartsville, Pennsylvania. And then from July of 2011 to July of 2016, I served as the Delaware Region Conference Minister of the EC Church, which basically I was overseeing 50 plus churches and interacting with the pastors and churches. I did that for 5 years, did a 5-year term, and then in July of 2016, I began serving as the part-time pastor of discipleship at Hope Church in Fogelsville. And I've been doing that along with some other things ever since. So here we are today. We're flipping through Philippians and hopefully doing some other things after that. But I will tell you that from the night I accepted Christ as Savior and Lord to the present, I have poured my heart and soul into being a better disciple of Jesus and making disciples of Jesus. And quite frankly, that's what I plan to do until I see Jesus. So that's my story. I hope in telling it to you, you have learned a little bit more about me. both Vince and I look forward to spending more time with you, flipping through Philippians and through some other books of the Bible as well. So God bless you, grace and peace, and we look forward to some more episodes. God bless.